It's been a historic couple of days in the markets late last week, likely looking at another historic week starting this morning. Charlie Gasparino, nobody better, Fox Business Network, Mizzou's finest graduate, joining us on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming all morning long on the KCMO Talk Radio app. All right, Charlie, it has been a wild couple of days. What is the latest you are hearing this morning and what you're expecting to come today and the rest of this week?
Well, we might bounce around a little more today. I mean, I think there was I hate to say it like this, but it looks like the markets, the Dow is only going to be down 700 points at the open, not 2,000. So that's a little better. Listen, unless Trump starts negotiating, I don't care if we turn positive today. If he doesn't negotiate, if this thing does happen in 2 days as promised, I mean, the market is going to have to reset to reflect the cost of the tariffs, and you got to expect many more declines, and like significant declines. Just that when you have this level of tariffs that are promised, and if they're fulfilled. The markets will price that in. Now, the minute, he says something positive, you're going to get a huge rally. Like if he says, listen, I'm going to start negotiating with China right now, huge rally. I'm going to start negotiating with Europe for zero tariffs, huge rally. I mean, the minute that happens, that's the problem with playing this. I talk to a lot of hedge fund managers. They lost too much to capitulate in large with their stocks. On top of that, they don't want to miss the rally if it does happen, and they kind of think it will. They think he's going to be forced to do it.
Okay.
Many lines. Now, for the average person out there, I mean, there's a whole other dynamic. Pete, I did a little, back of the envelope research the other day and try to figure out how many people actually have money in the market. Well, it says just about everybody's got something, 401ks and, pension funds. But what is the average 401k? The average 401k is just $130,000. Okay? Mm-hmm. The median 401k, that's, 50% above or below, is something like $50,000 to $30,000. So most Americans are not saving through the stock market, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't look at this and say, well, who cares? It's some Wall Street thing. Except when businesses, because this does impact businesses, there's a real economy aspect to this that the markets are pricing in. Do businesses start laying people off because their global supply chains are screwed up? They can't pass the cost, immediately to consumers, and when they do, consumers don't buy. That's where this gets really treacherous for the average person, and that could happen.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up the right point here, which is it's not necessarily the ebbs and the flows of the markets or stocks, but it is how does it impact potentially the jobs market, right? And that's what we don't know yet, but a lot of that is contingent on what exactly this administration does in the days ahead. So what did you hear over the weekend from these folks around Trump in terms of how you think he ultimately wants to play this? And if this is just Trump saying, hey, I'm throwing out the first number on the negotiating table, let's get to the table and let's now get to work.
No, there's no negotiations really right now.
Okay.
None. Okay, so just take that off. Now, there may be the minute we hang up. Things tend to work that way with Trump. But there's no negotiations right now.
Okay.
There's zero. I think we're going to get the tariffs on Tuesday. And, Wednesday, right? Wednesday's the 9th.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get it Wednesday. And, and the lead up to that is going to be pretty nasty. I mean, we're going to get more of this stuff. Mm-hmm. That's just the way it goes. And, sorry, I'm laughing and I'm crying here, but it's just we're in a dangerous, treacherous situation. And what really disappoints me about all this is that he was doing so many good things the economy was coming back. Businesses were starting to feel better. And then he took this detour. And, he could have handled it in a much better way, and he didn't. He could have got the tax cuts through everything and just piecemeal, country by country or region by region, started crafting deals with these people. These foreign leaders about, there's no doubt that we're held at a disadvantage. But, global nuclear war on trade, you take it a left turn, it's like a sharp left turn, and imposing essentially taxes on every country that sends that we have dealings with, and that's going to trickle back to us because they're going to retaliate. Not only that, global economies are integrated. You just can't establish car part factories in the U.S. overnight. They don't exist, and there's going to be significant disruption.
Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business, is here. Now, one thing that you talked about this morning on X, and I thought it was an excellent point, and that is, basically making an attempt here in MAGA economics or MAGAnomics, whatever you want to call it, to the opposite of the Biden-Harris economic scheme, which gave us inflation and hollowed out and destroyed the middle class that had wages that were not keeping up with inflation. So they're trying something obviously completely different. We know that the middle class has been just destroyed in recent years and has hollowed out in recent years. Is this going to work out perfectly? None of us know. But the approach in and of itself seems to be something that the White House is cognizant of to try to support the workers that elected them. What is the political angle on this, Charlie, in terms of your reporting and what you're hearing? And do they know that they're taking a risk here, but they think it's a risk that'll pay off for their voter?
I think they believe that their core voter is not impacted enough by the markets that it will matter, that the markets themselves will matter to them. I think there is an ideological rigidity of some of Donald Trump's support advisors, guys like Peter Navarro, for example, who really do believe that, this is going to create, economic nirvana. I have heard that Donald Trump himself has become much more ideologically rigid on trade, on this sort of protectionist trade policy over the years. He wasn't always like it. He was more of, we tariff you, you tariff us, let's cut a deal. He's more rigid now. And, that's why I think the Peter Navarros right now are winning the day. I think it's crazy. And listen, I don't like the fact that we have trade deficits, and I don't like the fact that countries screw us. But, there's a way of doing this which doesn't, just come back and bite you in the proverbial rear end. You know what I'm saying?
So
I think we've unleashed the dogs of war in a way that will bite us in the proverbial rear end.
How about Trump's angle here that, hey, these countries desperately need us and we have leverage as the United States? How can he potentially use that leverage to his advantage and, of course, America's advantage in all this?
Yes, it's a great question. He can. But is that the plan? I don't know if that's the plan. You hear like the administration talking out of both sides of its mouth with this. Scott Bessent suggests that's the plan. He's the Treasury Secretary. Peter Navarro gets on TV 2 minutes later and suggests that's not the plan. This is like written in stone and we're bringing back jobs. I mean, that sort of uncertainty is stoking what you see in the markets right now.
Mm-hmm.
And among businesses, I mean, this is starting to filter. I mean, Stellantis, the car company, laid off 900 people recently over this. And we're going to see more. I mean, companies have to plan. It's going to cost them. Car companies, is this going to be an embedded cost? There is no doubt.
Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business, is on KCMO Talk Radio. So with the markets now, you're expecting a jittery week, a roller coaster week. We'll obviously see how it plays out. There could be a big swing to the upside here as well, depending on what basically Trump puts up on Truth Social in the next couple hours or couple of days. But if there's something that you're looking for, if there's a light at the end of the tunnel, Charlie, what would that light be? What does it look like?
It looks like Donald Trump saying, I'm going to meet with this leader or that leader, and we're going to talk zero tariffs.
Okay.
And saying that this is going to be the policy.
Mm-hmm.
Negotiating down to zero tariffs.
Okay.
And that would turn around the markets. And that would turn around everything.
And are Wall Street guys and gals, are they kind of like they don't want to be perceived as going against Trump on this right now? It looks like Bill Ackman has done some of that, but it's been pretty quiet on that front.
Remember, Bill Ackman is an independent proprietor, essentially, right? He runs his own hedge fund. Same with Dan Loeb, who's another, significant hedge fund player. So they have freedom to say stuff. What you don't see is Jamie Dimon saying much. You don't see any of the big brokerage chiefs saying, because they're just deathly afraid of Trump, of his wrath. I've written that, and it's so obvious. Mm-hmm. I mean, the markets are literally imploding. Jamie Dimon put out one of the most tepid corporate letters. He did his annual letter today. I was like, where's the beef here? You know what I'm saying? Literally, his world is being turned upside down. And you had to go down 3 paragraphs to get to the tariffs and what it means, and and very tepid language. So there is no concerted Wall Street response to this. There is no, joining hands to tell the president, please stop. Let's go to Washington and tell him to stop. There has been, as I've reported, talks between Wall Street executives and Trump about this. They initially came away with the impression he wanted to negotiate. That has kind of ended now.
Gotcha.
So, but who knows with this guy? This might be part of the art of the deal, quite frankly. Or it could be that, I wrote a column. You saw my column. I wrote about how, I thought, he was going to negotiate, and a mutual friend of ours, and I put this in the column, said, no. He's different these days. He is an ideologue on this. So temper your expectations.
All right. Charlie, we appreciate the insight, the reporting as always, and we'll talk to you soon. It's going to be a wild week. Thanks for being here on KCMO.
You got it, Pete.
All right. Good stuff there. I appreciate Charlie Gasparino joining us on 95.7 FM.